gorgeous. There we go. I hope I'm in frame. If I'm not, damn. Okay. So, as I said to you the other day, I was going to upload myself reading because we can't FaceTime for the next however long. I'm not going to do the first chapter because I've just looked and the first chapter is about 40 pages. So, I'm going to read for a chunk of time and then I'm going to call it quits. Yeah. So, this is Bernard Cornwell's Sharpe's Assassin. I bought this in Sainsbury's about 2 years ago actually when we first moved here. And I have never looked at it. I thought I'd buy it, I thought I'd get back into reading because I used to be a bit of a bookworm. And I never did. So, Lieutenant Colonel Sharpe is a man with a reputation, born in the gutter, raised in a foundling. He joined the army 21 years ago and it's been his home ever since. He's a loose cannon, but his conventional methods make him a valuable weapon. So, so when the dust is settling after the Battle of Waterloo, the Duke of Wellington needs a favour and he turns to Sharpe. For Wellington knows that the end of one war is only the beginning of another. Napoleon's army may be defeated, but another enemy lies waiting in the shadows. A secretive group of fanatical revolutionaries hell-bent on revenge. Sharpe is dispatched to a new battleground, the maze of Paris. The maze of Paris streets, where lines blur between friend and foe. And in search of a spy, he will have to defeat a lethal assassin determined to kill his target, die trying. I'm going to quickly pause and make sure I'm in the camera shot. This has been an unreasonable nightmare to set up. I've changed into a hoodie now. There's some reason so I can do that. Right, so I've read the blurb. Jesus Christ, this was 20 quid? Fucking hell. Should have read this sooner. But yeah, I was just playing Minecraft and then I realised it was getting late and that your plane has actually landed. So let's get started. Right, part 1, the fortress. How do you want me to do this? Do you want me to sit like this? I don't know. Let's have a think. How do we want to do this? Let me stop the video. I'm gonna sit. That's one way to read. That's another. I'm gonna watch this video back and decide. Right, I don't want to hear it. I've changed back into the shirt. It's getting a sweat on. I've also just realised I put the phone on differently. The camera was. I flipped the phone upside down. It shouldn't matter, but your angle might change a little bit. Anyway, should we get started? We're like 5 minutes into this. I've not read anything yet. Sorry, man, this is shit. I'll put a timestamp at the start of the video to let you know when it actually starts. Anyway, there were 3 men on the ridgetop. 2 were alive. One of the 2, a tall, lean man, his face darkened by the sun, was wielding a pickaxe, slamming the blade down onto the stubborn earth. The two 12 inches of digging had been easy. Jesus Christ, I've already had a rough start. The top 12 inches of digging had been easy, but the hard rain of the 2 days before had not loosened the thick clay soil beneath, and the pick was striking hard, but not too deep. "This will take all bloody day," he grumbled. "Let me do it," the second man said. He was even taller. A burly, hard-muscled man who spoke in an Irish accent. "You take the shovel." "I want to do it," the first man said surlily, and slamming the pickaxe down again. He was stripped to the waist, wearing only a crude straw hat, calf-length boots, and a French cavalry overalls. His shirt and his green rifleman's jacket were hung on a nearby tree, together with his heavy cavalry sword and a tattered red officer's sash and a rifle. "I told you to dig the hole in the valley," the bigger man said. "Ground's softer down there." "It has to be up here, Pat. Dan always liked the high ground." "I'll miss Dan," Patrick Harper said wistfully. "Bloody frogs." The pickaxe hammered down again. "Give me that shovel." "I'll shovel it," Harper said. "Make room." He jumped into the shallow grave and scraped out some loose soil and stones. The officer walked to the tree and took down the rifle. I'll bury this with him," he said. "Why not his own rifle?" "Because his is better than mine. Don't want mine." He looked after his rifle, that's for sure. Dan Hangman's corpse lay in the grass. He had been killed by a French voltigeur in the battle that had been fought on the ridge just one day before. Most of the battalion's dead were buried in the shallow grave on the lower ground, close to the chateau of, that's a long way, Hugomont, that still smoked from the fire and that had destroyed the main house. Another fiercer and larger fire burned closer to the chateau, and the stink of it wafted up the ridge. The officer crouched behind Hangman's corpse and gently touched the dead man's face. "You're a good man, Dan," he said. He was there. The officer, whose name was Richard Sharp, flicked a piece of dirt from Dan Hangman's green jacket that had been cleaned and mended by one of the battalion's wives. Sharp had watched Hangman's face, though no amount of water could erase the rash of powder burns scored into the Hangman's right cheek, each burn thrown up by the explosion of powder in the rifle's pan. "We should say a prayer," he said. "If you ever make this grave deep enough," Harper grumbled. "You can say it. You're Catholic." "Christ, I haven't seen a church in 10 years, Harper said. "I doubt God listens to me." "He doesn't even know I exist. I wonder if Dan prayed." "He sang a nice hymn, so he did," Harper said. He took the pickaxe and drove it deep in the ground. "He'll soon have this done. We'll soon have this done," he said, loosening the hard pickaxe soil with a heave. "I don't want the foxes digging them up. We'll put rocks on top of him." Sharp had made a wooden cross from the shattered backboard to the artillery wagon. He'd used a red-hot bayonet to burn Dan Hangman's name into the cross piece, and added "Rifleman." He arched his back, trying to work the pain from his back muscles. Stared across the shallow valley where the battle had been fought. There were corpses everywhere, men and horses, while the crops were flattened and scorched by artillery fire. "God, that stings," Sharp said, nodding down the slope to where the fiercer fire was being fed with timber cut from the wood behind Hugomont. Men were also carrying French corpses to the fire and throwing them into the flames. The British dead were being buried, but the enemy would burn their way into eternity. Sharp dropped the wooden cross and picked up the spade. "Officer coming," Harper said in warning. Sharp turned to see a cavalry officer coming towards him. "Not one of ours," he said dismissively, turning away to scrape the soil Harper had loosened. The approaching officer had sky-blue trousers and a dark blue tunic crossed with a golden sash. To Sharp's eyes, the uniform looked unnaturally clean. The men who had fought on the ridge were filthy, their uniforms stained with mud, darkened by blood, and scorched by powder burns, but the young cavalry officer appeared elegant and polished. "The bugger's talking to Sergeant Hookfield," Harper said, eyeing the horseman, who had stopped beside a group of redcoats who were cleaning muskets gathered from the battlefield. One of the redcoats gestured towards Sharp. He swore under his breath, making Harper laugh. "Trouble will find you," he said. The elegantly uniformed officer turned his horse and spurred towards Sharp and Harper. He saw what they were doing and grimaced. "I'm told you men knew where I can find Lieutenant Colonel Sharp," he said. He had a crisp voice, which, like his well-groomed horse and expensive uniform, spoke of money. "You found him, Your Honour," Harper said, exaggerating his Irish accent. I can't do an Irish accent. I know I'm not even doing voices for these guys. You might get confused every now and then, but live with it. "You?" The officer stared at Harper with disbelief. "I'm Colonel Sharp," Sharp said. If the cavalry officer had found the thought of Harper as a colonel unbelievable, he seemed to find Sharp even more preposterous. Fucking hell. That could have been because Sharp had his back turned, and the back was crossed with the scars, and his back... Sharp had his back turned, and the back was crossed with scars of a flogging. Okay. Sharp tipped back his straw hat as he faced the newcomer. "And you are?" "Captain Beryl, sir." "I'm on the Duke's staff." "Lord Beryl," scorn. The scorn in Sharp's voice was unmistakable. "A younger son, so no, sir." "What can I do for you?" "The Duke wants to see you, sir." "He's still in Waterloo?" "In Brussels, sir. We rode there this morning." "I'll have to finish here first," Sharp said, and he drove the spade into the earth. "And I need to shave." He had not shaved in 4 days, and the stubble was dark on his cheeks. "I need to fucking shave." "The Duke says it's important," Beryl said nervously. "He insisted on the utmost haste, sir." Sharp straightened. "You see that dead man, Captain?" "Of course, sir." He was a damn fine soldier and a good friend. That man marched with me to Portugal, to France, then came here, where that bastard Voltigeur killed him. I owe him a grave, and I pay my debts. If you're in such a hurry, then you can climb off that bloody horse and help us. I'll wait, sir, Beryl said uncertainly. It took another hour to deepen the grave sufficiently, but then Dan Hangman was laid in the earth and Sharp pulled his own rifle at the side of the corpse and hooked one of the dead man's fingers through the trigger guard. He touched Hangman's powdered scarred cheek. If you go to the wrong place, Dan, take a shot at the devil. Tell him it's from me. He climbed out of the pit and helped Harper shovel earth and stones onto the corpse. You want to say a prayer, Pat? Not me, sir. We want someone who knows God's ear, who has God's ear. I might as well fart as a prayer. Sharp grunted. Find someone who can give him a prayer, Pat, but not Huckfield or any other bloody Methodist. He looked up at Beryl, who had been walking his horse up and down the ridge top, as if impatient to leave. So what does the Duke want? Best for him to tell you himself, sir. He did urge the utmost haste. Beryl hesitated. You don't like Methodists, sir? I hate the bastards, Sharp said. All they do is preach at me. I already know I'm a sinner, and I don't need them telling me. No, I just want a good prayer said for a good man. He shoveled more earth to make the mound over the grave, rammed in a crude wooden cross, and was just finished as Pat Harper returned leading a pale and skinny youth. Who the hell are you? Sharp asked him. Private B, sir. The youngster said nervously. Ugh. He looked scarcely a day over 17, was as thin as a ramrod, and had long black hair. His red coat was bright, unstained by mud and powder burns. We got a draft of new troops this morning, Harper explained. 36 men. Young B was one of them. So you missed the battle? Sharp asked the lad. We did, sir. Then you were lucky, Sharp said. And you know a prayer, B? I do, sir. Then say it, lad. This was a good man who fought hard, and I want him to go to heaven. Yes, sir. B sounded excruciatingly nervous as he stepped to the grave's edge and clasped his hands. Dormi, fili, dormi. He started uncertainly, then found his voice. This is all in Italian. Mate cantet, unigineto, dormi per dormi. Pater nato clamet parvula. He stopped. Amen, Beryl said solemnly. Amen, Sharp said. That sounded good, B. There's more, sir? I'm sure that's enough. It sounded like a proper prayer. My mother taught it to me, B said. He looked so frail that Sharp was surprised the boy could even heft his musket. You did well, lad, Harper said, then took a bottle of it from his pack and poured half the contents onto the grave. A wee drop of brandy to see you to heaven, Dan. God damn it, Sharp said angrily, coughing at the tears in his eyes. But he was a good man. The best, Harper agreed. Fetch my horse, Pat, Sharp said, and saw Private B look confused. Your horse, sir? The boy asked. Is your name Pat too? It's Patrick, sir. Pat B, Sharp said, amused. Sergeant Pat Harper can fetch the horse. Harper had already left and Sharp looked up at Beryl. I'll be with you in a minute, Captain. He pulled on his shirt and then the ragged rifleman's green jacket, stained with blood and burned powder. He tied the ragged red sash to his waist, strapped on his sword belt, and then slung Hangman's rifle on his shoulder. He exchanged a straw hat for a battered shako that had a ragged split where a French musket ball had hit. He cupped his hands. Captain Price. Harry Price ran from the... Well, he's yelled that, but I'm not about to yell it. Harry Price ran from the field behind the ridge where the battalion was camped. Sir? You're in charge. I'm going to Brussels, and Lord only knows when I'll be back. Set pickets tonight. You think the French will be back, sir? The buggers are still running away, but it's regulations. Pickets. He looked at B. What company are you in, B? Haven't been told, sir. Take him, Harry. Looks like a light infantryman. About as light as they come, sir, I said, looking at B's frail body. Sharp gave B 2 shillings for what sounded like a good prayer, then hoisted himself into the saddle. The horse had been captured from the French dragoon and had a green saddlecloth embroidered with a wreathed N. Look after Nosy, Sharp told Harper. Nosy will be eating fresh horse meat tonight, sir, Harper said. And Charlie Weller can look after him. I'm coming with you. There's no need, Pat. I'm coming, Pat said obstinately. He ran to find his own horse, and joined Sharp, who was trotting west to catch up with the elegant cavalryman. I'm going to stop there for a second, my love, just to make sure the video is still going. 2 seconds. Right. Looks like we're all good. I was on page 10, I just started page 10. I've got my earphone in now, not for any particular reason. Here we go. You are a ranker, sir? Barrel asked cautiously. I've taken it out already. You saw my back, Captain. You ever saw an officer flogged? No, sir. I enlisted in 93, Sharp said. Into the Havercakes. Made sergeant in 99 and was commissioned 4 years later. And you captured an eagle? The captain said admiringly. At Talavera? Aye, Sharp said. How did you do it? Broyle asked. Sharp looked at him. A youngster, he thought, fresh-faced and blue-eyed, and to Sharp's eyes he looked as if he only knew 2 or 3 years out of school. But he was a lordling, and so already a captain, and enjoying the patronage of the Duke. Patrick and I did it, Sharp said harshly, gesturing at Harper, by cutting our way into the French column. Damn nearly did it yesterday too, but there were too many of the buggers. Then how you command a battalion? Burrow said. Sharp was not too sure. His promotion to lieutenant colonel had been purely to give him subtle rank as an aide to William, Prince of Orange, a young and idiotic princeling who had been wishing on the Duke as the price to be paid for the Dutch troops who had helped defeat the Emperor in the Low Ridge. Orange, who had done more harm than good at the Allied cause, had dismissed Sharp during the battle, and Sharp had rejoined his battalion and taken command of it when Ford, the colonel, had fled in panic confusion. The Duke, seeing Sharp lead the Prince of Wales' own volunteers against the Imperial Guard, had called out the battalion now belonging to Sharp, but whether it was permanent, Sharp did not know. He wanted the command, but feared and expected the Duke would now demote him and appoint another man. The road led into the forest of Soignes, I think that says, where scores of men. What the hell does that say? Bivouacked. Bivouacked beneath the trees, not clue. Their campfires sifting smoke into the leaves. Beyond the forest was a small town of Waterloo, and then the road led between peaceful fields to the smoke-crowned city of Brussels. I suppose the war is really over, Broyle said when they saw the great smear of grey rising from Brussels' chimneys. Aye, you can go home, Captain. Paris first, Broyle said eagerly. We might have to fight for that, Sharp warned. You think so? What do I know? I hope not. But we'll do whatever we must, and the sooner it's over, the better. Then we can all go home. Where is home for you, sir? Normandy. Broyle looked at him in astonishment. Normandy, sir? I have a French woman, Sharp exclaimed. And she has a farm in Normandy. He smiled at Broyle's expression. It's not what I expected, Captain. I spend a lifetime fighting the buggers, then I end up living with them. Life is never what you expect. I do have some good news, Broyle said suddenly. What? The Prince of Orange is recovering well, sir. I thought you'd like to know. Sharp grunted. The Prince had taken a bullet in the shoulder, and Sharp would have been very happy if the ball had struck lower, straight into the heart, because in 3 days the Prince had destroyed 4 or 5 battalions with his idiocy. The surgeons removed the bullet, Broyle said, and the wound is clean. Good, Sharp said inconvincingly. But the Duke said the bullet was one of ours. Oh, friendly fire? One of ours? It still has scraps of leather, sir. And don't our riflemen wrap their bullets in a leather patch? We do, Sharp said. It helps the barrel grip the bullet. The Duke surmised that one of our men shot the Prince, Broyle said. Why would they do that? Sharp asked. I wondered if that was why the Duke had summoned him. When Sharp had fired at the Prince, he was scarcely 100 paces beneath the ridge from which the Duke had been watching the battle. Damn it, he thought. But the ball should have hit the Prince plumb in the middle of the chest to explode his heart. But instead, it had gone high. And the Duke had seen him fire the shot, in which case, he thought, he no longer commanded a battalion. Indeed, he would be lucky to escape a court martial and disgrace. What was the penalty for shooting royalty? The rope? Or a firing squad? Some frogs use our captured rifles, Sharp added, sounding unconvincing even to himself. So Sharp shot the fucker, basically. Broyle said nothing more. Just led Sharp into the city and then it was time to hand the horses to waiting underlings and climb to the steps to the Duke's quarters. You're normally asleep by this point, and I've just got to the first break in the paragraphs. This chapter... I was being dramatic earlier when I said it's got 40 pages. It's got 22 pages. But I'm going to stop at page 14, because if I go any longer, this is going to take a long time to upload. So, I'll call it there. I'm going to leave the book out, just there. I'm going to start uploading this, and while it uploads, I'm going to play Minecraft. Hopefully you text me before it uploads, because you landed damn near an hour ago. What the hell? Obviously I'm not the best reader in the world, but hey, I love you.